A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is 97.3 ESPN, home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They've got him!
WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
What a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
Thursday edition of Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. We are live as always on YouTube and Twitter at 97.3 ESPN. Glad to have you guys on board the show today. A lot to get to here on the show, and of course, you can join the conversation as always. 97.3 ESPN mobile app. DM the show. Priority messaging thanks to First Bank of Sea Isle City. Text board 609-403-0973. Andy McNamara from Sportsnet joins us each and every Thursday to get more into the NFL slate of games, give you some guys you should start and shouldn't start in fantasy football. So we'll get to all that and more coming up here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN with Andy. Of course, we'll get to the latest information with the Philadelphia Eagles and, of course, our pick for Thursday night football. Of course, all that still to come right here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN at Josh Hennig on Twitter. Of course, we got a situation where the Eagles are playing on Monday Night Football, so your Sunday is a little different than a traditional Sunday for you Eagle fans out there. So I understand for some of you, the Eagles game, while it's in mind because it's Dallas week, it's a little out of sight, out of mind because you have to wait an extra day for it. But the news and information is still coming in about the Birds. And today's latest injury report to get to here on 97.3 ESPN, there were 4 guys who did not practice today. So a Thursday for Monday football is the Wednesday, what it usually would be. Fletcher Cox, Jason Kelsey, Hassan Ridgeway, Davion Taylor all did not practice. Now, Ridgeway and Fletcher are being described as a non-COVID illness, which is why they were not participating in practice. So I'm going to work under the assumption that because it's non-COVID related, that they'll be fine in a couple of days and they'll be good to go. Maybe there's some sort of stomach bug or something going around the D-tackle room or something, because obviously it's in position group, Ridgeway and Cox both getting that little illness going on. You're limited at practice. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, Rodney McLeod, Miles Sanders. Not surprised about McLeod. McLeod's basically been a limited participant at practice for weeks now, and I am going to assume that until he's a full go in practice, we will not see him actually play in a game. So the expectation would be, as of this moment, that McLeod is not on track to play this week. J-Jaw obviously has a very limited role in the offense. So you're not too worried about his overall health long term. And then Miles Sanders, as long as it's limited, it's not too serious. Describing it as a chest injury, I mean, that could be anything. Honestly, that could be. I mean, yeah, that could just be sore, for goodness sake. I mean, that doesn't have to actually be anything, and they should be extra cautious with him. So that's the latest on the Eagles injury report. I'm going to go into the working assumption that most of those guys are going to be fine and good to go when we actually get to game time. Like I said, to me, the McLeod thing, I know some of you out there are tired of hearing me say it, but I think at some point the McLeod absence is going to start biting this team harder than it has. You got away with it against the Falcons. It didn't hurt you too much against the 49ers. I want to know, is this the game that it bites him? Now, the Cowboys have no Michael Gallup, and Amari Cooper is currently dealing with an injury himself. So do they lean more on the tight ends? Do they lean more on the running backs for Dallas in this game? It's something to keep an eye on. I'm very curious to see as we start looking ahead to Cowboys versus Eagles. We know that their offense can be high-powered, Dallas, because of Dak, because of Zeke, because of the talent that they have at numerous positions. But for Amari Cooper to show up on the injured list in any capacity, if you are a Cowboys fan, you got to be at least a little concerned. Now, they're describing it as a ribs issue, okay? Limited participant. I'm going to assume he's going to play. And then it would be Cooper and CeeDee Lamb and maybe, I guess, Cedric Wilson with the third wide receiver out there without Gallup at this point. But do they get the tight ends involved? Does Schultz find a role in this offense? Do we see more Zeke and Pollard in the passing game? Because like I told you guys previously, Dak Prescott is the orchestrator of this offense. This isn't Mike McCarthy's offense. This offense is about Dak. And if Dak feels comfortable going heavy on the running backs, I'm going to assume that's the direction they go in. I don't think that's a huge stretch to make that assumption. And for the Eagles, at one of these weeks, your safeties are going to be needed, and if McLeod isn't there, it's going to be a problem. I mean, do the Cowboys run the ball extra? We know that Anthony Harris is not a box safety like Rodney McLeod is. Harris is a center fielder, ball hawk, guy who's going to go get the ball in the passing game. He's not a run stopper. If the Cowboys decide to go heavy on the run game early on, does that expose the Eagles? It's a very interesting question to ask to me. And the other question to ask on the Eagles side is, does Sirianni learn from his lesson? Listen, Sirianni can wear all the shirts he wants. He can do all the fun and games that he wants. Personally, I don't care. I don't care what Sirianni wants to do or thinks he's doing or whatever. I want to see what happens on the field on Monday. I want to know if Sirianni is done trying to reinvent the wheel and goes back to what got them the win in week 1. And as I detailed over at 97.3 ESPN.com, you look at all the passing plays the Eagles had that were short versus deep balls from week 1 to week 2. It was obviously a different game plan. It was obvious that Nick Sirianni was trying to outsmart Kyle Shanahan and DeMeco Ryans and the 49ers coaching staff. He got out coached. Now he has to adjust because he's going against a lesser football mind, a lesser football IQ in Dallas. Mike McCarthy is not on Kyle Shanahan's level. And Dan Quinn, people still have questions about that defense. And Kellen Moore, I would argue that Kellen Moore is more of a translator than he is an offensive coordinator. He's more of a, decipherer between McCarthy and Prescott, because if you watch Hard Knocks, you know that McCarthy and Prescott don't really have a great coach-quarterback relationship. So those are some of the things to keep an eye on as we get ready, as the days keep coming toward Eagles, Cowboys. Of course, you can hear all the action this Monday night. Merrill Reese, Mike Quick on the call, 8 p.m. right here on 97.3 ESPN, your home for Eagles football in South Jersey. And, of course, we have football all weekend long, Saturday through Monday, and tonight as well, Thursday football here on 97.3 ESPN. Speaking of tonight's game, FanDuel Sportsbook wants you to get the most out of every game day. That's why they're giving everyone a $10 risk-free bet each week. Tonight's Thursday night football matchup between the Panthers and the Texans is a great opportunity to place a same-game parlay bet with 3 legs or more, and if your bet doesn't win, FanDuel will pay you back up to $10. With Sam Darnold's resurgence in Carolina, surrounded by a great offensive talent, you can build a same-game parlay featuring the money line, point spread, player props, and many more options on FanDuel Sportsbook with their simple-to-use app. There's no feeling like nailing a same-game parlay bet. So lock in your bet today on FanDuel Sportsbook and get up to $10 back if your bet doesn't win. If you're new to FanDuel Sportsbook, new customers can also claim a 31 odds boost on either team to win. In Monday night's matchup, Philadelphia and Dallas, Just sign up with promo code Hennig. And if your first bet loses, you get the $1,000 back in site credit. That's promo code Hennig on FanDuel Sportsbook. Must be 21 or play and present in New Jersey. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Max refund $10. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Same game parlays available for multiple sports in all states on mobile or web. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. And I will give you a same game parlay to rock with tonight. Some options for you. Some things that I like with tonight's game. We will get you that coming up about 35 minutes from now. So stay tuned for some same game parlay tips on FanDuel Sportsbook. Josh Hennig hanging out with you here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. As always, you can chime into the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free thanks to First Bank of Sea Isle City. Also, don't forget to check out 97.3 ESPN.com for all your Phillies, Eagles, Sixers, Flyers coverage. And if you don't want to go to the website, you can get all on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. And don't forget, you have less than 24 hours to register for Mike Gill and Pete Thompson's Play with an LPGA Pro at the Pro-Am. So it's Pete, Mike Gill, the LPGA Pro, and potentially you. All you have to do is jump on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app and sign up. If you haven't already, download the app for free from the Apple App Store or from Google Play. They will announce the winner tomorrow during Pete Thompson's segment on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Before we hit the break, I saw this tweet from Terry McAuley, who works on Sunday Night Football, the former NFL official. And I think that it's very interesting to point out that he is not the first person I've heard mention this. But there are multiple people who are now pointing out that the NFL has been calling a lot of specific penalties. All right. And Terry McAuley says one of them is ineligible player down the field. That foul was called once in the first 2 weeks of last year's NFL season. It's been called 14 times this year. The NFL does this overcorrect. And I think as the season goes on, you're going to see some of these nitpicking penalties as we go forward. And it's important to remember that because I think some of these penalties are actually costing teams games. I think that we've seen plays been called penalties in the past that have been suspect. Obviously, the Rams Saints game with Nickel Roby-Coleman is a famous one. But this year it feels like way more calls are impacting games than they really should. And I ask you guys to keep that in mind as we move forward because there's going to be a course correction in the league. Either teams are going to stop calling certain plays because they're worried about guys being called downfield, or the NFL is going to stop calling them all together. So that's something to keep in mind as we move forward with the NFL season. Josh Hennig hanging out with you here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM. Still to come here on 97.3 ESPN. We will get more into NFL Week 3, fantasy football, and more. Andy McNamara from Sportsnet joins us right next here on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free thanks to First Bank of Sea Isle City. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night.
This is the radio home for Philadelphia Eagles football. It's week 3 of the 2021 season. This Monday night in Big D as the Eagles face the Dallas Cowboys.
We circle this date the second the schedule comes out. There's nothing normal about playing against the Dallas Cowboys.
Pre-game coverage begins at 7. Merrill and Mike call all the action starting at 8. This is where the Eagles play. 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's Eagles station.
game time. Football season is in full swing, and you can catch all the NFL action at the FanDuel Sportsbook in Bally's Hotel and Casino, Atlantic City. It's time to get in on all the games you love. Experience sports betting done right with live streaming games, food and beverage, self-service betting kiosks, and more. Get your game face on and score big this weekend when you bet at FanDuel Sportsbook in Bally's off the boardwalk, Atlantic City. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig back here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM. And, of course, don't forget the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free thanks to First Bank of Sea Isle City. As you each and every Thursday, we talk fantasy football with Sportsnet's Andy McNamara here on 97.3 ESPN. And it's being brought to you by Jim Malamud at Green Tree Mortgage. Your best play to refinance today. What are the best plays this week? I feel like after 2 weeks, everyone's in one of two predicaments at this point. You're either 0-2 and losing your mind because you thought you had a good team, or you're probably think that you're better off than you originally were. So get more into that right now is the one, the only, Andy McNamara here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Andy, how you doing today?
Josh, doing good, buddy. I'm doing well. Week 3 is here, and actually, I'm headed to Cleveland, Ohio tomorrow. I'm getting back. I'm going down for the Browns-Bears game, so I'm extremely excited.
Is that why you added even more Browns paraphernalia to your outfit today?
I literally go down, and for the whole weekend, it is just Browns everywhere. Whether you can see it or not, it's Cleveland Browns, I can assure you.
So what you're doing is you're trying the outfit out on the show with me.
Correct. See if it
on
works.
the YouTube stream before you decide to wear it in Cleveland this weekend.
Yes, exactly. I want fashion tips from the viewers and the listeners to see, is this the right combo? Is this the right feel that I should be doing? So it's Browns Legends weekend too, Josh. And actually, I'm going to be meeting up with Browns great Eric Metcalf for our Ultimate Franchise Fantasy Sports platform that we're working on, because the Legends League is coming up October 22nd, that franchise auction that I'm hosting from the Pro Football Hall of Fame with Eric. And this weekend, he's going to introduce me to several other Browns legends that we're going to sign on as NFTs to the platform. So it's going to be fun, a little bit of business. It's going to be a great time.
Well, let's start with the Browns, because Browns OC Alex Van Pelt said that Beckham, OBJ, that guy who hasn't played yet, will be a game time decision to make his debut. Now, this is serious because Jarvis Landry is put on the injured reserve short-term list. He's expected back in about 3 weeks, but the wide receiver position is getting really dicey, and it's getting to the point now, Andy, you mentioned Schwartz last week. You mentioned Peoples-Jones the week before, and each of those weeks, those guys haven't done anything. What is going on with this Browns receiving corps?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a mess, and I would suggest this, folks. Don't start Odell Beckham Jr. on your fantasy team this week. Don't do it, because week 1 he was supposed to play last-second cut. I got messages, a lot of people burned by that. And even if he comes in, he's going to be on that, whatever you want to call it, pitch count or snap count, whatever. So I wouldn't necessarily rely on this. This offense, as it was last year, but seems to be even more so this year, is all about the running backs, and both of them. All about Nick Chubb, all about Kareem Hunt. You got 3 tight ends that are catching balls, and Hooper, Njoku, and Bryant. So where else does the ball go? Well, it looks like it is being spread around. And Anthony Schwartz, boy, he got Tyrannosaurus Rex arms on that interception coming across the middle, heard footsteps, if you will. So that was very disappointing. I feel Rashard Hollywood Higgins is going to get an increased role. He's been a consistent safety blanket to Baker Mayfield. But really, Josh, it's going to be, again, all about the running backs. Everybody else, I can tell you there's upside in 2 or 3 of those guys. But really, game flow-wise, it's going to all be around the RBs.
Now, another wide receiver looks like he's not going to play this week. T. Higgins has been missing from practice Wednesday and Thursday, and right now he's on pace not to play at all. How does that impact the Bengals offense this coming Sunday?
Yeah, I'll say this. I've been pleasantly surprised by Joe Mixon's production. I'm very surprised by it because he was barely used last year, and the O-line still isn't good. So That's at least a positive trend. What that says to me is obviously Tyler Boyd stock going up, Jamar Chase stock going up, and Joe Mixon. So if Higgins doesn't play, it just really spreads around that target share that may have gone to him to different areas. So I feel Joe Mixon is going to be the biggest beneficiary of this Steelers team, whose offense is quite frankly sputtering. So I think there's going to be an opportunity to have a little bit more of a ground and pound situation, which would benefit Mixon.
When you think just big picture at this point, it seems like right now, outside of the Panthers, the best running backs in fantasy are on teams with poor receiving situations, and the best receivers are on teams with bad running back situations. Is that fair?
I think so. I think overall that's fair. And if you look at just not even bad at a particular position group, but just bad teams, right? Like look at the Atlanta Falcons. They're not good, but you're able to still find some value in garbage time situations. Jacksonville Jaguars, another situation like that. I'll tell you this too, Josh. I put this in my Tuesday waiver wire article on sportsnet.ca. Get yourself some Cordell Patterson. It's time. It's time, folks. We've been waiting. Seems like forever for Patterson. I think he's legit now. I think he's shown that he's taking away game flow and target share from Mike Davis, who, as we spoke about, was an average back. He was the guy, but we didn't anticipate Patterson getting almost equal amount of carries in the backfield, and he's catching the football, and the Falcons are no good, so you want as many dynamic playmakers as possible. Patterson also has rare dual position eligibility in Yahoo leagues of running back and wide receiver. I got him on one of my fantasy teams. He's shot up ownership wise. I believe it was 48% in the last 24 hours. So that's somebody you want to keep your eye on.
Yeah, not surprising, especially considering the dumpster fire that is the 49ers and Ravens backfields right now. I feel like the Ravens have more guys who've been in Pro Bowls on their practice squad than on their actual roster at this point. It's getting ridiculous.
Yeah.
But seriously, think about the running backs. People are in a bad predicament, and a lot of people out there in fantasy, they're trying to figure out what do they do because people are like, hey, go pick up Hasty, go pick up Trey Sermon. They did, and now neither one of them are going to probably play this week. And now it's like, do I try to call somebody to trade for Latavius Murray? Do I try to like go hope that Le'Veon Bell might get a snap sometime this century? Like, what do people do because you mentioned Cordell Patterson may already be swiped up in somebody's league?
Yeah, if you didn't strike on him, he's probably gone. And now we want to go, if you mentioned the 49ers, if we want to go deep sea diving again, get yourself some Jacques Patrick. Get yourself some Jacques.
The XFL guy.
We're talking French. Yeah, Jacques Patrick. He might be the last man standing. Okay, he might be the last man standing. I picked him up as a speculative bench ad. I might put him in a DraftKings contest for kicks as a cheap way. But like, there's really a situation, you're right, where it almost to me, Josh, feels like if you can get somebody that's in a committee that's healthy, that's not great, but it's going to be better than most of the situations on Baltimore, on San Francisco. Forget about the Jets. And you can go down the list, right? Like there's a lot of damage there being done. So I think it is time where you try to make a deal, but you're going to be dealing from a position of weakness as well, right? That your league mates are going to know that. So you have to try to piecemeal it together. And maybe a strategy might be, hey, you know what? Go the other way. If you're weak at running back, well, if you're strong at wide receiver, or you can upgrade there, just go heavy in different positions. And I don't want to ever say punt on a position, but there just might not be that many options for you outside of true flyers like a Jacques Patrick.
Andy McNamara joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN at Andy MC81 on Twitter. Check him out for all of his fantasy sports and NFL coverage with Sportsnet over there. Andy, tonight, Thursday football, Panthers taking on the Texans. To me, and listen, you're the fantasy expert, but to me, there's one big flyer tonight. That's the Panthers defense, because Davis Mills is not ready for prime time. And this Panthers defense has now punched two teams in the face and they weren't sure what planet they were on anymore. So I'm starting to feel like that Matt Rule is finding the groove of the identity of his team in Carolina, and I like that defense moving forward.
100% agree with you, Josh. Absolutely. That's the streaming play right now. Texans, like you said, I didn't like Mills coming out of college. I just don't feel he's going to be I don't think he's built to be a quality starting.
Andy, real quick, I don't know why he came out of college. He could have gone back with another year of eligibility. It didn't matter.
Right. That's right. I don't know why. Yeah, I'm totally with. And I remember that situation now. Yeah, I don't know why he came out. You could have waited, but he didn't. He's getting a paycheck now, so good on him. You're getting paid. But what does that mean? He's a statuesque guy. Like Brandon Cooks is the only play on that team just based on volume. I still don't love it, but Brandon Cooks is so darn talented. You can't count on anybody in that backfield, right? Ingram, Lindsey, Johnson, Burkhead crawling out, trying to ruin your day too. Like, how is that going to go? And then you look at Carolina. Like you said, the defense, that's a great stream play. Not even just for this week. Almost like you want to be keeping him around and see how this develops. Sam Darnold, the ghosts of Adam Gase gone. Like this guy quietly, Josh, is looking very efficient, looking very functional as certainly a high-end second quarterback in 2 QB leagues. And dare I say, in 12-team redrafts, Sam Darnold's making a case to be in the QB1 conversation at the bottom. Christian McCaffrey's a beast. And now the only interesting thing to me really on that team when it comes to fantasy sort of ranking is the wide receivers for tonight. DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson. Anderson was last year with Teddy Bridgewater, but now Moore has sort of leapfrogged him. And we were all anticipating maybe it's like, okay, hey, they were together in New York, Anderson and Darnold. Haven't seen it yet. I want to see how that progresses over the next couple of weeks. But right now, it's DJ Moore as the top wideout in Carolina.
It's funny because in the one fantasy league that I basically with a draft after week 1 draft kind of league, and then another league I'm in, which is the 97.3 ESPN league that's before the season league, I have Robbie Anderson on the one team. I have DJ Moore on the other team. And I almost did pick Sam Darnold as a backup quarterback, the Kyler Murray, but I went with Jalen Hurts instead. So, by the way, how about this? No, this is the most ridiculous situation, really quick. No one really cares about my fantasy team, but I'm only saying this because Andy's going to laugh. My main fantasy team has Lamar Jackson. I'm good, right?
Right.
My backup quarterback is probably better than my entire rest of the roster. I have Baker.
Yeah.
Baker's my backup quarterback. But yeah, I'm picking up Patrick and Cephas this week to put on my bench because I got to stick Jarvis Landry and Gallup on my IR, and I dropped Hasty because now he's out. I had to drop Mostert because he's done for the year. So my running back situation is a dumpster fire, but my quarterback and wide receivers got depth for miles. And I got Gronk playing the flex this week.
Let's talk about Gronk for a second here. What's up? 4 touchdowns, 2 in each week.
Well, according to Gronk, he doesn't watch any game tape. Did you hear that?
I did. Then keep not watching, I guess. Keep not watching. Because, Josh, I don't know if this is going to continue, but I'll tell you, I'm going to err on the side of having him in my lineup for the week it doesn't until I'm given a reason, right? Like, there is a lot there. I'll say, too, now he's been picked up and he was on, I believe he was only owned in around 50%, maybe a little less in ESPN leagues earlier in the week. But I had my article as well, Sterling Shepard. His ownership's jumped up a bunch, but everybody's still looking at Kenny Golladay and Saquon Barkley. Look away. It's Sterling Shepard. Sterling Shepard's getting the football. And this is actually, I think, a great fantasy game with 2 horrible teams. Like Falcons-Giants, I want to be loading up on those targets because both defenses stink and they should just lay each other out, and it could be a fantasy goldmine.
Well, they both have horrible offensive lines too. Yeah, so it's like either there's going to be a lot of offense or no offense because there could be a situation where like some random defensive player has like a 4-sack game, and everyone's like, "Who's that guy? Oh, he was drafted in the 4th round."
And he just feasts right on the opposition. Oh yeah, like you can't pick. Here's the tough part: you can't pick any defense either because the defenses aren't good. So it's not like you can like say Falcons D or Giants. You're guessing. You're guessing on those, right? But I would say for the Giants, I want Sterling Shepard. I want Sterling Shepard in my lineup this week.
Are the Steelers' offense all their players stayaways at this point?
I think Najee Harris you have to keep in just because, like we've talked about the scarcity at running back. I just don't think you have a choice at this point. You don't like it, but that's what we're, at least if they're going to run the ball, it's going to go to Najee Harris. That's at least we know that. Big Ben looks terrible. Looks absolutely awful. I don't want to be touching Claypool, Juju, Deontay Johnson in PPR. I guess you'd still like him as the top one, but that's like that Pittsburgh team is all around the defense. That's how they're staying in ball games. Really, it's all about the D, and they're going to grind out the rest. So it's not very exciting offensively in Pittsburgh.
Now, Monday Night Football is the night that a lot of people in this area are looking forward to. So I have some questions for you specifically on Eagles Cowboys, because it's Dallas week here in the area. That's actually a name in this area for those who don't know. For those who don't know, Andy, he's in Toronto, but he's from Cleveland, just to give everybody a little background. So Andy is, through me, getting introduced to the isms of the Philadelphia, New York metro tri-state region. Okay.
Right.
But Dallas is hated by everybody, unless you're a Dallas fan in this area.
Right. True,
so it's a big deal when you play Dallas, right? But here's the thing with the Eagles-Dallas game. Andy, I don't know who's showing up, because the Eagles in week 1 were one team on offense and another team week 2. I broke the whole thing down at 97.3 ESPN.com. It was a literally different offensive game plan. And then for the Cowboys, week 1, their defense couldn't stop anything. Week 2, they almost shut down the Chargers, and Zerline basically saved McCarthy from his time management issues. So I don't even know who these teams are. I feel like we're completely guessing going into this matchup.
It seems fitting for the NFC East, doesn't it? Right? It just seems fitting because it's guessing. Both teams are 1-1. Who's going to show up? Who isn't? I'll tell you this: on my fantasy team, I have Dak Prescott and Jalen Hurts as my quarterbacks. Okay, those are my two guys. I'm playing Jalen Hurts over Dak Prescott. Dak had a poor fantasy week last week, very poor. I think Hurts is, and we talk about. I'm not trying to gush over Jalen Hurts each and every week coming on this show, because I love him from a fantasy wise. I think he's starting to prove to people that he is the real deal in the future at quarterback in Philly. So I'm going to go with him at quarterback this week. But as a whole, where else are we looking? Well, for Dallas, all right, there's still no Michael Gallup, and Amari Cooper's banged up a little bit. So the CD Lamb, Amari Cooper angle. The big problem, if you have Ezekiel Elliott on your fantasy team, Josh, what the bleep is going on? You know how many tweets I've gotten in messages of like, hey, what do I do about Zeke? I'm like, don't get mad at me. I'm not calling the plays in Dallas. Don't blame me. Tony Pollard, he's just doing enough so that you can't start him on your own, but he's doing enough to ruin Zeke's day. This over the next 2 weeks, this game and the next one, we need to see some clarification on what the role for Ezekiel Elliott is, and it's not looking good right now.
Now, one of the questions that Mike Gill has been asking that I'm going to steal from him and give to you here. So I was asked earlier this week, what am I going to do for the Eagles game? Because we all down here, we're all falling in love with the Peyton Eli cast on Monday Night Football. Okay. It's amazing. Okay. Yeah. It's absolutely incredible. They quadrupled their viewership from week 1 to week 2. But the problem is when you're watching the telecast, you're not getting the full game watching experience. So I was asked what I'm going to do. And I said, I'm going to DVR Peyton and Eli. I'm going to watch the regular game in real time, because I typically rewatch the game twice anyway. So now I'm going to rewatch it with the Eli and Peyton lens, because Eli played for the Giants. Peyton explained last week that he loves watching game tape. Okay. And he loves preparing like he's going to actually play almost.
Right.
Now, there are people who are joining my side, like Jason Fitz of ESPN Radio. They're on my side on this argument. Mike Gill doesn't like the idea of DVRing it and watching it later. So where do you stand on what does an Eagles and Cowboys fan do with Monday Night Football? Do you sit down for the Peyton Eli cast? Do you watch the regular telecast? What does a fan do?
Well, you know what, Josh, honestly, I hadn't thought that DVR option did not come to my mind. I think your way is the best way to do it, because originally just from the two options, because I'm going to have this problem later as well in the season when the Browns are on Monday night, my first thinking was, well, guess I'm missing Eli and Peyton that week because I need to watch. I need to watch the game. I need to be involved with the game when it's my team. I need to be involved and watch. So that would have been my first thought of, okay, well, you're watching the game and oh well. But your DVR side makes a whole lot of sense, especially if you plan on going back and watching the game a second time. Anyway, you get a totally different insight to it. You get obviously the entertainment from Eli and Peyton. I think that's the way to go. DVR them. You're watching the full game, and then, unless the game's a complete blowout and you don't want to hear anything that happened about it, then you can just delete it. And you just get rid of it. Right?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, well, maybe you need some comic relief if it's that bad.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
And by the way, it might not just be bad because your team loses. It may be bad because maybe your team won, but you lost in fantasy. So maybe you need a little relief there too, because know how many people we know lose on Monday night their fantasy leagues. It happens every week.
All the time. And especially, I think it's going to happen a lot this week because of the cast of fantasy characters in this one. Everyone's going to have some in your league. Everyone's going to have Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Miles Sanders, Dallas Goedert, Devonta Smith. Like by the way, Devonta Smith, nice start to the year. Nice fantasy start to the year. I like it. He's the guy to own, obviously, in Philly right now when it comes to outside of the tight ends and the quarterback. So there's a ton of fantasy
outside the tight end. The tight ends got, I think, 3-4 targets last week altogether.
Yeah, I still believe in Goddard. Like you said, it was a totally opposite looking team from both Eagles and the Cowboys. Sort of that swap. I still feel that Dallas Goedert is, because again, we talk about the thinness at running back, tight end. Woo, baby. That gets, I'm glad Gronk is producing because that adds another name to it. But you have to keep getting those guys in. But okay, you know what? We get Gronk back as a producer. Where the heck's George Kittle? And hello? And George Kittle is gone. It's Deebo Samuel. I got Deebo on my team, so I'm fine. But George Kittle's not there. Gronk's in. Hawkinson's a stud. Kelsey's Kelsey. Darren Waller's great. Mark Andrews isn't showing up. So it's there's a lot of different angles here at this tight end group. So if you have somebody like Goddard, who you think over the course of the year at some point should find his groove, that's why I'm going to say, okay, you know what? I at least want him on my team in some capacity when things turn around, because I think they will.
You think, you hope,
I hope,
wonder. You're praying to God that Goddard does something.
Yes. Do something, Goddard. Come on. Oh, I know it's frustrating, right? But this could be the week where we see it. And that's also with a young quarterback. Who does he develop chemistry with?
Yeah,
over the year, right? Maybe it's Devon. Maybe the anticipation is, hey, game plan going into the season, we're going to use Goddard a lot. We're going to go to the tight end combo again. But Jalen Hurts comes in, and he's developing a lot of chemistry with Devonta Smith. Well, guess what? If you're winning ball games, you stick with that chemistry. Game plan's gone. So how this develops over the first month and into week 5, 6, 7 is really going to tell us a lot.
He's Andy McNamara. Give him a follow on Twitter at AndyMC81 for all your fantasy, sports, and NFL analysis. He joins us each and every Thursday to break down NFL Week 3 here on 97.3 ESPN. Andy, enjoy your pilgrimage back to Cleveland. Have fun, and we'll catch you next week, my friend.
Absolutely, Josh. Hey, Eagles fans, enjoy it. Monday Night Football. Come on. We'll talk to you later.
And he's always great. Always great when he joins us here on 97.3. And, of course, Thursdays, Fantasy Football Talk with Sportsnet Andy McNamara on 97.3 ESPN is being brought to you by Jim Malamet at Green Tree Mortgage. Your best play to refinance today. Josh Hennig hanging out with you here on 97.3 ESPN. I'll get to all of your guys' thoughts and comments and your messages. I see messages coming in over on 97.3 ESPN on the YouTube channel. Also, you can direct message the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. And we are live on YouTube and Twitter. And, of course, the text board is there, 609-403-0973. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night.
Dave Pash here, inviting you to join Mike Golick and me for Westwood One's coverage of Thursday Night Football from NRG Stadium in Houston. We kick off Week 3 of the NFL season with Mark Ingram and the Texans playing host to Sam Darnold and the Carolina Panthers. It's the NFC South against the AFC South. in primetime on Thursday Night Football.
Listen to Thursday Night Football on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 8 p.m.
Excludes prior sales. See dealer for details. At Bennett Chevrolet, your vehicle will never be worth more than it is this month. That's a fact. Bennett will pay you top dollar on the spot and will buy your vehicle even if you don't buy one of ours. No sales pressure, just top dollar for your trade. In fact, this month only, Bennett will pay you a minimum $8,000 for your trade. Let me repeat. Bennett will pay you a minimum $8,000 towards any pre-owned vehicle on our lot. No matter the condition or miles, even if your trade's a total wreck, it's worth $8,000 this month only. Imagine how much more we'll pay for a good quality trade-in. Get to Bennett Chevy and you could drive away in a newer vehicle with the same or even lower payments than you're making on your old vehicle. Plus, at Bennett, we have non-commissioned sales folks who are paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. So there's never any sales pressure and never any need to negotiate. Find new roads at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
game time. Football season is in full swing, and you can catch all the NFL action at the FanDuel Sportsbook in Bally's Hotel and Casino, Atlantic City. It's time to get in on all the games you love. Experience sports betting done right with live streaming games, food and beverage, self-service betting kiosks, and more. Get your game face on and score big this weekend when you bet at FanDuel Sportsbook in Bally's off the boardwalk, Atlantic City. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
All right, let's wrap up the show. Get some of your thoughts and comments before we get out of here. Of course, I promised you my same game parlay picks and ideas for the night here. Thursday football coming up at 8 p.m. tonight here on your home for Eagles football and all the NFL in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN FM. Before we get to that, of course, we got a couple messages coming in. Jeff Bonapookie chimes in on the YouTube channel, watching at 973 ESPN. He says, do you have any keys to victory for the Eagles versus Dallas? To me, the biggest key to victory right now, Jeff, before I dig deeper into the game on tomorrow's show and on Monday's show, part of the pregame lead-up, is this. To me, I think that we are not factoring in enough the fact that the Eagles can do what the Chargers couldn't. The Chargers never took advantage of the Cowboys' offensive line issues enough. They didn't blitzkrieg the side of the line where La'el Collins is not playing and where Zach Martin didn't play week 1. I think the Eagles' defensive front can play better than the Chargers did. And that's where, to me, if there was a biggest key, if there was an advantage, if there was something that we could kind of put our finger on, I would say it's the Eagles' D-line versus the Cowboys' offensive line at this point. Because I feel like that one side without La'el Collins is greatly lacking at this point in time. And, of course, tomorrow and Monday we'll dig deeper into the specific matchups of the game. But always appreciate hearing from Jeff. Checking out the show here on 97.3 ESPN. All right, before we get out of here, of course, my friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook inside Bally's Casino and Hotel in Atlantic City. Bet all the action in style this football season at the state-of-the-art FanDuel Sportsbook just off the boardwalk at Bally's Atlantic City. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, same game parlays. You could do these over on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. I'm rocking with it. I think this is the best odds right now in terms of what makes sense. I think Carolina covers I think they win by double digits. I think the Texans are just a poor football team right now. I think Carolina is just way too good compared to them, at least. DJ Moore to score a touchdown. I like him to score a touchdown a lot. And you have Christian McCaffrey over 87.5 rushing yards. The Texans gave up almost 200 rushing yards last week to the Browns. So if you go with DJ Moore, that's plus 520 on the touchdown score. You're going to go with Christian McCaffrey to score a touchdown. Then you're working at, plus 155. So a little bit, a couple options there on the same game parlay. I'm Josh Hennig. Thanks for listening. Catch you tomorrow. The number of people doing business online has skyrocketed since the pandemic hit last year. So it has never been more important than now to make sure your business can be found online. TownSquare can help you find more local customers with premium website services to help you grow your business faster when you visit mylocalcustomers.com. At mylocalcustomers.com, you will find out how it's fast and easy to work with TownSquare to get you new leads every day. There are no contracts, and it's a subscription you can cancel anytime. Visit mylocalcustomers.com today to receive a free competitive analysis. Be one of the first to sign up and receive $500 in free advertising on this station. At mylocalcustomers.com, you will work with a dedicated marketing specialist to help you grow your business. Don't wait. Visit mylocalcustomers.com today to learn more about how TownSquare can help you grow your business. That's mylocalcustomers.com.